The 7900 XTX versus Clair Obscur Expedition 33, running at 4K with epic settings. Sure, this game is visually beautiful, but as an Unreal Engine 5 game, is it optimized? Can the 7900 XTX deliver 60 FPS at native 4K, or will it need help from upscaling? This game doesn't currently support AMD's FSR3 natively, so can we use OptiScaler to force an FSR4? And if we do so, how is that going to look, or is it going to be glitchy? We'll see in this upcoming video. I'm Mr. MCP76 and welcome to my channel. In this video, I hope to answer these questions. But quickly, let's first review the system specs. I'm running an Intel i7-13700KF at stock speeds, AMD Sapphire Pulse RX 7900 XTX, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and Windows 11. We're also using MSI Afterburner to show stats here on the left-hand side so we can see how the game is performing. So let's jump into settings and confirm some things. Under graphics, we can see that we are using the scaling type of TSR. The quick preset we have is epic, so everything is maxed out on this game just to push the 7900 XTX to its limits and see what it can perform or how it will perform. Again, scaling type is just TSR right now at 100% resolution, and that resolution is 3840 by 2160p, so native 4K right now. And again, we are running at epic settings under everything, just again to push the graphics card to its limit here and see how it performs. Okay, we're back in the game now. So right now, right off the bat, looks like we are, let's go ahead and start up the FPS counter here, benchmarking it. So we're right about 33 FPS, 30 FPS, or just above 30 FPS average. That, in my opinion, is not actually bad, guys. Like this is Unreal Engine 5, so we are going to see some stuttering, some traversal stuttering. I think that it even stutters here when certain characters are met, or just any characters that you go up to talk to. It ends up stuttering a little bit, gives a little bit of spike on the frame time graph there. But otherwise, we are in the 30s for FPS in this open area, which is, you know, we want to hit 60 FPS at 4K here, so that's our goal. And right now we're halfway there, and this is with TSR Native. Graphically, everything looks great. I'm not seeing anything that I would consider. Maybe that's flickering there a little bit. Let's see. I don't know if that's just the way the grass is moving between those white flowers, or if that's actually flickering. Yeah, because as we move closer to it, it does seem to, yeah, it's probably just the grass blades causing that flickering. Again, we're not using any upscaling, so I wouldn't expect any rendering issues from upscaling right now. We're just running at native 4K. The game is very responsive. Even those spikes, you see those spikes on the frame time graph, I didn't actually feel them, which is interesting. They happen according to the frame time graph, but I didn't really feel it.
House?
Looks abandoned.
Again, the game looks fantastic. The game has been really fun to play too, so I don't want to trigger any cutscenes here with the building, but did want to get some FPS look at the game in an enclosed-in environment. Yeah, so again here we're looking to be pretty good. The game is running at about 35 FPS average. I think that spike was, as you can see, look at all those stutters there, right? You can see all those there on the frame time graph, those spikes. That's why our 0.1% lows on the FPS counter there is at 13 FPS as we hit those spikes. But again, the engine is seeming to, or the game itself is seeming to handle those spikes pretty well. Again, I'm not noticing the stutter. If it wasn't for the, like even now, look at all those spikes. It's pretty rough. Again, this is with TSR Native. It's pretty rough, but I can't say that I'm noticing the stutter as I'm playing here on this monitor. Yeah, it looks like we're not seeing those stutters now as we're going back in, so that must be maybe shader compilation, something like that, as it's reloading that scene from memory. As I'm coming back through this area, we don't see those anymore. Again, those flowers there, whitish blue flowers, they seem to flicker, but I think that's more with the grass blades. Yeah, just showing through the grass blades. They're not just straight flowers flickering. All right, so let's go ahead and adjust the settings. So next thing we're going to do now is we are going to hop into XeSS. So the game itself does not natively support FSR. We're on AMD card here, but the game doesn't support FSR natively. So we're going to try XeSS at native resolution and see if that gives us any kind of a performance change. So we're using just anti-aliasing right now with XeSS, just as with TSR, we're not doing any upscaling on the resolution. So let's give that a try and see how it looks. All right, we are back in the game, so let's take a look. Okay, something as far as FPS goes looks pretty similar. Graphically, I would say it still looks good. I am seeing a bit of a shimmer in his hair. I'm guessing that would be like shadow movement over his hair. Oh, even in dark shadow, let's see, even in shadow. Yeah, there's a shimmer there. Let's pop back into TSR and see if that goes away. Maybe that's just the way the game is set. Okay, back in the game with TSR anti-aliasing, and yeah, we still have that shimmer. So that must just be like the way the game is rendering like shadow movement through his hair, perhaps. We'll see if that changes at all. There is ghosting like crazy though, but I think that's again part of the game because we're not doing any kind of upscaling at this point. Okay, we are back in XeSS with anti-aliasing only. Okay, start the frame time counter. All right, so we're back in the game. It really does look like it's even more pronounced that, it kind of seems like a shimmer to me, but maybe it's supposed to be a shadow effect or something, I guess. But looks like shimmering, but it looks more pronounced with XeSS. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look. So right now we're about 39 FPS with XeSS set to anti-aliasing only. Game's responding pretty smoothly. So this is actually this is pretty strong showing for the 7900 XTX. We're showing at just below 40 FPS average, and our FPS is actually getting into the 40s in some areas here. So that's pretty good. Rendering of the game looks pretty good too. I'm not seeing any kind of like grain or shimmering, flickering, anything like that. It looks pretty good. Those flowers look good. Now I know in this area we saw an issue. I think it was, where was it? Yeah, there we go. In this area where the grass, yeah, it's the same thing here. So again, it looks like shimmering with those flowers, but it's actually, I believe, just the way the grass blades are reflecting through the flowers there. So yeah, so far the game is looking pretty good. Let's go inside. That'll probably change our FPS once we're indoors. Yeah, looks pretty good. We're up, yeah, pretty smooth frames without those shader loading or shader burns. Our stuttering seems to be gone now, and we're averaging 27 FPS for 0.1% lows, very close to the average of 38 FPS that we're currently seeing. All in all, this looks great. Mouse movement and gameplay is very smooth. We'll collect that later. We don't want to trigger any cutscenes here. Yeah, this is really good. So, I mean, if you're gaming on a 60 hertz monitor or even higher, I suppose, and you're okay with 30 FPS, this game is a slow enough paced game where 30 FPS I think is more than playable. All right, so let's go ahead and hop back into the settings, and we're going to go ahead and use some upscaling with XeSS. So we're going to go to Ultra Quality Plus. We'll see how that performs. Okay, we're back in the game here again. We're now running at XeSS Ultra Quality Performance here, so about, again, 77% resolution. So let's take a look here. It's already looking pretty good. All right, so we're now at 52 average FPS. CPU load is 91%, 100%. GPU load is 99 to 100% load, which is good because the processor is just under 20% utilized. So again, we are currently GPU bound or GPU limited, which is what we want. All right, so just playing the game here now, just below 60 FPS. So this is we're almost there, guys. Again, target is 60, and then after that, we'll see how far we can push it. But target is 60, and right now we're just below that at 52 FPS average. That's really good. This game is not just beautiful and fun to play, but it seems to be, for an Unreal Engine 5 game, very well optimized. I don't know for you guys though, depending on the GPU you are using, can you comment below? Let me know if you guys are noticing any of those stutters more than me, because I do show in the frame time graph that there is little spikes there. But again, in gameplay, I'm not noticing it. So the game is actually designed from my setup here, looks like it's designed well to handle those shader loads. And it's not really presenting much of a stutter on screen that I can detect. Screen moves, everything looks great. I'm not noticing, just from preliminary looks here, any kind of grain, shimmering, or flickering in the graphics. And it still looks just as sharp. Let's take a look at his, yeah, his hair is really still, it's got that shimmer. No matter what we set that to, that just seems to be there for the hair. So maybe that's the way the game is deciding hair should look. Anyway, his clothes look really sharp and detailed. Hair otherwise, except for that. There's a little bit of grain I am noticing to his hair, but again, I mean, the shimmering kind of like distracts you from that anyway, so I guess that's fine. And if you're looking at his hair or the other player's hair, the girl's hair, let's take a look at her hair and see if it behaves any different. Let's go out in the sun. Yeah, I do show a little bit of grain or shimmer there, but none of the strange shadow movements or whatever that is on Gustav's hair, right? So um, her hair looks fine. She needs to wash her face. Anyway, let's go and switch back to him for consistency. So as Gustav runs through the world here, let's take a look and see how this looks. Yeah, it is looking pretty good there. That flickering there again is pretty identical to the other. So again, that's just the grass blades. The flowers closer up seem just fine. Now, just to kind of bring this to the attention of you guys, I did notice that, like other YouTubers, Daniel Owen in specifics, show that there was some shimmering with these shimmering and flickering with these flowers as it was being rendered, but he was using a significantly lower tiered GPU with his testing. And this was, I believe, with XeSS and TSR. So again, comment down below. Let me know what you guys are seeing in this game if you're playing it, and if you're playing it with something other than a 7900 XTX like I am here. Let's discuss and see what's going on with the game. Let's take a look inside and see how FPS changes, or if we see any flickering in here. I want to say I am noticing right off the bat as I enter this building here, this pillar that's fallen over and there's some light on it. That light is kind of flickering a little bit. But, if you're playing this game as you should be, just continuing on, you probably wouldn't stand there long enough to notice, so it's not outwardly noticeable. FPS in this room is, well, right now, actively, we're at about 54, 57. FPS average is remaining at 52. So again, just below 60. And gameplay is very smooth. If there are any issues with the upscaling method from XeSS right now, it is not obvious. Okay, back in the settings now. Again, that was Ultra Quality Plus with XeSS. We're going to go to Ultra Quality here. Okay, back in the game, and we're using Ultra Quality with XeSS. It looks like that is brought down our FPS. Let's go ahead and start that benchmark. So we're below 50 FPS now with XeSS Ultra Quality. Looks like the lights over there with those flowers look fine. Again, no real change. Not noticing any shimmering. Okay, there we go. We're back in the 50s now. All right, so 50 FPS, 51 FPS average right now. Grass is looking good. Gustav's hair continues to look good. Can still see the fine detail of the hair strands there. His clothing still looks sharp. The environment is pretty crisp and clear. Not noticing any outward obvious signs of shimmering or flickering or anything like that. Grain, I think, has increased just a bit here, looking at the grass, but not you'd have to kind of stop and stare at it to even notice, so not significant. See if we can get any stutters in here as we move back in the world. These flowers are pretty stable. Yep, the game looks good. Okay, again, so this is XeSS Ultra Quality. We're hovering right around 50 FPS. We'll run inside real quick to take a look indoors and see how that might change. All right, we moved inside. That light flickering on this fallen pole here again seems to be still there, but I wouldn't say it's any worse than before, which I guess would be expected since it didn't really seem to change the rendering resolution, so it's probably just changing the algorithm as far as how it's displaying or upscaling the image to 4K here. So again, we're averaging right now about 52 FPS average, which is very close to almost identical to XeSS Ultra Quality Plus. Okay, we're back in the settings here, and let's go to quality. So now we're at 66, basically 67% resolution scale. So we'll see how that impacts things. Okay, we're back in the game. Let's go ahead and start that FPS counter. All right, so right off the bat, kind of looking at the more harder area to render, we're in the high 50s, so 57 FPS average at the moment. Again, this is XeSS Quality now. Those flowers still seem fine. FPS looks great here as well. We're at 59 FPS now, so we're just at about our target. Again, we're trying to hit 60 and then above to see if we can get any more. The light going through that branch looks fine, the fallen log. His hair still looks good. Honestly, at quality here, there's more grain in his hair now. Definitely more grain now in the different hair strands. But that odd shadow shimmer thing is gone from his hair. So I think I'd rather have the grain than opposed to that undulating shadow shimmering effect in the hair. It's definitely less distracting when you stop and look around and you're not seeing that movement through there. So that, again, XeSS Quality actually looks like it's improved that. And now we are at 61 FPS average here. Gameplay is very smooth. This is where we want to start from, right? This is going to be our baseline. We want to be at least 60 FPS. The monitor's refresh rate natively is 60 FPS, but beyond that, gameplay is typically smoother no matter what resolution your monitor is at. Once you hit 60 FPS, we can consider that a fairly smooth resolution or smooth gameplay. 7900 XTX right now is sitting at 99% utilization. Definitely well under 8 gigs requested. 10 gigs requested, but well under 8 gigs used or utilized by the system. So again, with 4K, this game seems to be like it'll be a very happy to run on lower VRAM GPUs. At least the memory shouldn't be an issue. Let's go indoors and see how things might change there. Wow, we're going towards indoors. We're actively in 70s FPS, so we've hit that target. Let's see what this light looks on this pole. And those little hot spots Still flicker as they have before, so nothing changing there, so that's good. So this is very promising. XeSS with quality is pretty good. There is some shimmer now I'm noticing there against the rock wall with that decorative piece there and the overgrowth. You can see a little bit of sparkling here and there, which I didn't see before. But again, average, in this room, we're actually currently seeing 72 FPS right now with an average of 62. So this is pretty good. Let's see, that light source is pretty stable. Yeah, so this is impressive. All right, let's go ahead and hop back into settings for the next level. So we'll go with balance now with XeSS. That's going to give us just below 60% resolution scaling. Okay, so just to start with here, we are already going to start that frame counter. Yeah, average right now is 70, so we're getting there, guys. Now we're at 70, so even better. But let's see if the quality, if visual fidelity holds up, because if it doesn't, then what's the point of higher FPS if you're constantly noticing issues? Again, that light is holding okay. Looks good. Now, it looks like that undulating shadow stuff is back with his hair, and we're gonna actually take a look in the sun because it does look like we've lost some detail to his Gustav's hair there. Sorry about that, Gustav. Let's go back down. Gameplay is very smooth again. GPU utilization sitting at 99%. CPU utilization has jumped up here under balanced. XeSS Balanced, we've jumped up to 25 to 30% CPU utilization. So upscaling does increase the CPU load, and we are seeing that reflected here. Now we're running the i7-13700KF, but we're running it at stock speeds, so no overclocking there. Moving through the environment. That wasn't a stutter, I tripped on a rock. This looks great so far. Again, very smooth gameplay. We are now 69 FPS average. We haven't experienced any stutters, which is reflected in the fact that our 0.1% lows are at 45 FPS. So looks great. But again, in the sun, so that undulating shadow issue is back with his hair. And I have noticed some detail loss in some of those strands. Nothing significant. At this point, I would probably say, we'd go back to quality is where you would want to be at instead of balanced. But if you're looking for that higher FPS, we'll continue to push forward and see how the upscaling holds up. Okay, let's take a quick look inside and we'll see how things change there. Those flowers here in the transition area are still fine. Yeah, we're now, the average is 68, but in here, we're in the 70s. We're almost at 80 FPS. And I would still say that shimmering has really died down a little bit here. You do notice the sparkling or shimmering when you're moving on those hot spots on this pole, but it's actually improved, I would say, a little bit. We'll see if that changes. Again, we saw some hot spots here. It's just sunlight, so it looks pretty good. Yeah, there's definitely some sparkles there. You can, I don't know. I mean, I think that's supposed to be up above, right above Gustav's head. There's that decorative area there. I think that's supposed to be more that blue light moving through that, but it ends up looking more as a sparkle shimmer. So not being rendered very well. Some of that detail is lost with this upscaling, so I don't think that looks quite right anymore. But again, we are at balanced here with XeSS, and XeSS has performed quite well in this game. If you didn't want to mess with trying to shoehorn FSR4 into this game, because again, it doesn't natively support it, I would say XeSS is the way to go. I would probably stick with quality, but if you want a little more, I think Balanced is presenting a really good presentation here. With XeSS at balanced, we're at 71 FPS average here. Let's go ahead and see if we can bump that up. So let's jump into settings. We're going to go from balance now to performance. So now we're at 50% scaling resolution. 50% is going to put us at 1080p from 4K. That brings us down to 1080p internal resolution. So we're really giving it a lot less to work with here. Okay, we're back in the game, and already we have definitely seen a sizable increase to FPS. So we're now at 82 FPS average. Game still looks good. His hair is shimmering much more, and that detail, again with performance, I would say, yeah, his hair is very smoothed over now. We've lost detail in his hair. Let's move through this area. Again, this lighting, the shimmering, what looks to be shimmering, I think is just the way the game is rendering the grass blades and the white flowers there, whitish blue flowers moving through those grass blades. So so it doesn't seem to be a flicker issue as the flowers up in front of us here are holding steady. Let's see, let's move up here. It is getting darker. Night is approaching in the game, guys. Taking too long here, I guess. All right, so far so good. Everything looks great. Again, we're at XeSS Performance, so we are going to expect some loss in detail, and I think we are seeing that. Let's move out over here into the open a little. Maybe we can see Gustav's hair in the light a little better. Yeah, his hair's definitely lost some detail for sure. It looks smoothed over, right? And that undulating shadow thing is still a thing. I don't know if the game thinks that that's the way shadows are supposed to move over your hair, even in shadow, in the shade, I guess. I don't know, but I'd like the grain better at quality, XeSS Quality, than this. The game, though, itself is holding up nice. Yeah, some of these areas here are not as sharp as they were previously. It's noticeable right away as I'm moving through there that the detail, like on these rock faces and so forth, are still good. But having seen quality mode, you can see a difference between the two as far as detail goes. Okay, moved indoors here now, and we're seeing similar type of shimmering on that pole. FPS is now, still FPS average is 83, but actively we're seeing close to 90 FPS in here. How does light source looks fine. I'm not showing any shimmering on that purple light. Definitely more grain in the grass though. Let's see how this, yeah, I mean, there's that light just peeking through, but still got that issue there. I don't think it's just able to, again, at 1080p upscaling to 4K, I just don't think it's got enough to give us fine detail on that decorative piece up there, that curved decorative piece up there. Got some light moving through here. You do see some shimmering on the light. A little
the
bit.
indigo tree is not too far from here. If anyone else made it, they'll regroup there.
All right, that's where we'll go. Yeah, he just says, yeah. Like, yeah, I knew that guy. I knew that. Thanks. But anyway, graphically, it looks great. His hair, again, has definitely smoothed over. You can really see it much closer detail here. This definitely smoothed over. Having the 7900 XTX, I think I would back this down. But we're going to test FSR4 here and see if that maybe gives us something more to work with. All right, let's go ahead and test the next level up. All right, going to Ultra Performance here. So let's give it a try and see what happens. Okay, back in the game now, and we are now at XeSS Ultra Performance. Yeah, I mean, we're now hitting just about just below 100 FPS, but I can tell you right off the bat, not happy with the look. XeSS Ultra Performance is giving us quite a blurrier image. His face, the hair is still got it's losing a lot of detail there down towards the bottom of the back of his head, bottom area. It's just not looking good. And I actually am noticing some shimmering now too. Moving into this area, it looks like we've lost a lot of light detail. Still not noticing any too much issues with these flowers, but I am noticing a lot more grain, especially in the grass areas. Yeah, I think at this point we're seeing quite a bit more loss of detail. Sorry about that, Gustav, he tripped. Let's go down this area and see some really bright scenes here. So again, his hair is looking, we've lost that undulating shadow, so that's good, but a lot of grain now, and that grain is causing some blurring in his hair, some loss of detail, I suppose. And the grass is also pretty rough there. Gameplay is super smooth. Noticing some shimmering over there with the purple flowers. Again, though, we are now pushing the system to ultra performance here. So I think this is going to be like internal rendering resolution of about 720p. So that's asking a lot from an upscaler. Even at a starting resolution of 4K, you're just not going to get as much detail anymore. So if you're looking for that high refresh rate zone, just about there, actively seeing 106, 107 FPS. So that's, for those of you with higher refresh rate monitors, this might be what you want to get to. We'll see here in this area. Yeah, I think the game has just kind of given up on trying to render what any kind of light source is going through on that curved detail up there. But as far as image quality, there's some the light source on this pillar here with the lines on it. It's definitely shimmering now, which it was not before. A lot more grain going through it as well. So yeah, at ultra performance with XeSS, we're definitely seeing quite a bit of a difference in performance. We're seeing a nice boost into average of 100 FPS, but I don't think I would be willing to make that trade-off for the quality of the game, that sharpness of the game, which we've really lost here, I think, in this game. In my opinion, I think we've really lost a lot of detail. So let's see if we can implement FSR4 into this game. The game does not natively support FSR at all, so we're going to be using XeSS inputs to get us FSR4. And according to OptiScaler's website, there are some caveats to running this method here. One of them being that you can't, or you're not recommended to use ultra quality, as I believe that causes crashing. So let's go into settings, make some adjustments there, and then enable OptiScaler. We're going to go ahead and back this off to just anti-aliasing again. So we're at 100% resolution scaling for 4K. All right, let's go ahead now and enable OptiScaler. Okay, so we've now gone ahead and enabled OptiScaler, and it's using FSR 4.0.2. We did actually have to use FSR 3 here, so we set it to FSR 3.x, but it's using XeSS inputs because that's what we have selected in the main menu, and that's going to pipe FSR 4 through that system. All right, we're back in the game now using FSR4. This should be native AA. And we are seeing FPS in the 30s, so 34 right now with a 34 average, which is what we were seeing with XeSS. I'm noticing some stuttering here, but again, I was used to getting 60 FPS plus previously, so hopping back down to 30, it isn't as smooth, right? Like I said earlier in this review, or in this benchmark, the game was definitely not as smooth with 30, but smoother than if it was below 30. And we are noticing some stutters there, so we're down to 18 FPS average on the 0.1% lows. Let's go ahead and move into this area, see if it renders these flowers fine. It looks like it is. Really sharp detail here. Again, this is using now FSR4 and native AA. So no upscaling from FSR4, just using its native AA implementation. It looks good. Gustav's hair is very stable. Oh yeah, now that's impressive. No undulating, no grain. Let's go to the shadow. That undulation is reduced, but still there. So again, like I said earlier, I think it's just the way the game thinks the shadows on the hair should look in a shaded area, which is funny. Whatever. But otherwise, the detail is really good right now. Again, the frame rate being at 30 or just above 30 FPS is, again, kind of spoiled here now after experiencing with 60 plus. It doesn't feel as smooth as the character moves through the game. Everything seems to be rendering correctly at the moment. Yeah, that pillar is pretty stable. It's the slightest bit of shimmer on the light sources on the hotspots on the edge of this pillar. Moving up, see this area. Yeah, definitely much better. You can see very stable, much more stable anyway. Light movement through there. This light is supposed to be moving, so it's not going to be just steady, but it's more significantly stable and less shimmery than before. Not seeing any issues with light sources reflecting. Yeah, I would say this is pretty good. This is FSR4 again, not something natively supported by the game, so it's using XeSS inputs to get us there. So we'll keep that in mind as we play, that as we see further upscaling methods implemented, we might see that backfire on us a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and back into settings and see what we can set. All right, so we're keeping XeSS. Right now it's anti-aliasing, so we're just going to use ultra quality here, which again gives us really the same resolution scaling, so it must be some sort of algorithm in the background that makes that different. Okay, so ultra quality was not a go. That was bad. That FSR4 was not handling that properly. So let's go down to just quality. Okay, that's better. We're not getting the insane flickering that we just got a moment ago. So again, this is XeSS inputs for quality on FSR4. And okay, no flickering. No, do not use quality or quality plus or ultra quality. So don't use quality. This is quality. So don't use ultra quality and don't use ultra quality plus. Apparently, whatever inputs it's using, FSR4 cannot handle that in this game. That was horrible. Anyway, now with FSR4 quality here, detail is still really good in the hair. A little bit of loss of detail there in the back of his head, but nothing too bad. And actually, I would say there's less grain now. So let's go ahead and start the frame FPS counter here. So we're now currently at this particular spot, we're sitting in the 60s. Let's move through here and see if there's any issues. So far, so good. Yeah, this is really stable. The grass looks grain-free and no shimmering that I can note, especially as we look through these bright flowers. Again, we're right at about 60 FPS, so if this was your target, as it is for me, this is doable. And FSR4, I think, is doing a little bit better. Like in here, XeSS, I think, showed the same thing with quality, right? XeSS showed a lot of very similar results as FSR4 does here, but we'll see in the graphs if there's any FPS reduction, and we would expect some FPS reductions here, right? Because FSR4 is a little bit higher overhead. And so while we see improved visual fidelity, we'll see maybe some FPS drops, but in my experience, it hasn't been more than maybe 3 or 4 FPS on average with each game. You can check out my playlist on YouTube here to see other games we've tested with FSR4 to see how it's been holding up in visual fidelity as well as performance. And 7900 XTX here with FSR4 via OptiScaler is rendering really well. We are seeing a little bit of weird like lighting on the edges there, shimmering, but nothing too egregious. Again, that pole looks fine. Where's that purple light? We're looking good there. Again, this is an Unreal Engine 5 game, so there's no ray tracing, but I do believe it is using Lumen and Nanite. Okay, and at FSR4 Quality, that display up there at the top with the curved bottom edge, the light source on there is, I'd say, much more stable. You can definitely see it's less flickery and a more deliberate, I'd say. Like it's actually mimicking the patterns that we see of the light moving through other objects. So that's good. And again, we're still at 60 FPS. So, you know, FSR4 quality, just as with XeSS quality, this is really giving us a very smooth and playable environment at 60 FPS. Average is holding at about 61. We'll move back out to this area here. So yeah, this looks great. Let's go ahead and move up a tier and see what we get. So we're going to push it from quality to balanced now. All right, back in the game, we're at balanced, and yeah, we've got some flashes there, so that's not good. Let's go ahead and switch out of it. Doesn't even matter what FPS we were getting. We're not playing with flashing lights, right? So XeSS or FSR4 via XeSS at balanced, getting flashes there. We're not going to use it. Let's move to the next level. We'll go to performance. Back in the game again here with XeSS Balanced now. So we had to skip over, or not, I'm sorry, we're at XeSS or FSR4 Performance. We had to skip over FSR4 Balanced as it was giving us some white flashing lights. The screen was flashing white, not as fast as before, but it was still there, and so that's not going to work. So we've gone ahead and switched over to FSR4 Balanced right now. So that's a 1080p internal resolution rendering, upscaling to 4K. We have lost some detail in the hair. Still no grain though. XeSS was giving us quite a bit of grain in the hair at this point, and I'm not really noticing that right now. So that's good. And as far as image quality, it's good. Well, let's go ahead and start that frame time counter. We're in the 70s here on average right now. Let's move through the game and see how that might change. Looks good. Grass has lost a little bit of detail. That pop is kind of gone there, but it still looks good and stable. Image quality is great so far. And again, in the 70s for FPS, so the gameplay is very smooth. And this is FSR4 with performance. Moving through the world, everything looks sharp. I'm not noticing, as we're traversing here through the environment, I'm not showing anything that's popping out to me as flickering, shimmering, anything like that. Those flowers there in the distance look fine. Shadows look fine. Again, Gustav's hair is great. His clothing looks pretty sharp. Not noticing any blur. The ground is pretty good. Not as sharp as it was before. Again, just like with the grass, it doesn't pop out as much as it did, let's say, at quality. Those lights in the distance from the flowers are stable. As we move indoors, let's see what we get. Still same amount of shimmer on that fallen pillar there, which is impressive compared to XeSS. It's holding steady. Let's see some of these other problem areas that we saw before. Looks good. Let's move up here with this area. a little bit more as you move the mouse and look around. A little bit of shimmer there in that decorative curved area where the light is moving through it. But again, not as flickery, nowhere near as flickery as XeSS was at performance. FSR4 at performance seems to be handling it significantly better. Hair in the shadowy areas is pretty soft, but I think that's the way it was looking with all the other modes. Looks good. Again, in here, we're averaging about 77 FPS. Okay, and I think we have just one more setting to test here with FSR4, and we're going to try to push it to ultra performance and see how that works, or is it going to also be problematic just like a couple of the other settings? Let's take a look. Let's see if we can use ultra performance with FSR4 enabled. Okay, back in the game at ultra performance, FSR4 ultra performance. Not noticing any flickering, so hey, that's a win. That one's passing through XeSS just as well as the others. But I am noticing significant quality degradation, which we would expect. Again, this is I think really close to 720p internal resolution, upscaling to 4K via FSR4, and I don't think it's just like before. I don't think it's really that great. We've lost a lot of the detail in his face. Those lines are gone. His beard is a little less prominent or less defined. His hair is showing a very high level of uh, grain and flickering, and overall very smoothed out in a lot of areas. So giving up a lot here with ultra performance, but we are hitting 90 FPS. So hey, there's that. Okay, moving up through the world here. Again, the flickering, there's no flickering. Grass blades are much more grainy. I can tell that right away. And in the denser areas of grass, there's definitely some grain and shimmer moving through as you move your mouse and look at it. It's just not as stable. Okay, moving back down, we'll head backwards before we go inside. Let's go ahead and see how the game renders this open area using FSR4 Ultra Performance. Again, yeah, quite a lot of grain and loss of definition here with the grass. That's noticeable. The ground is a little blurry, especially as you're moving. It really blurs up a little bit, which was something we didn't see before. The lights of those flowers in the distance look stable, but as you get closer to the grass, it gets more blurry and more grainy. Okay, again, 91 FPS average right now. There is some shimmer there in the distance. I can now detect that I wasn't seeing before. With those whitish blue flowers, it's definitely shimmering, flickering. So that's changed. Yeah, oh yeah, much more now. Especially when you're moving, like it's just that light over there is just unhappy with those flowers. Yeah, and some of the brightness, the pop of these lights, these flowers have really been lost. Same thing with the light in the fallen logs here. The detail just seems to be gone a little bit. Let's move indoors and see how it renders the game in there. These lines on the doors are more wavy. FSR4 is still handling some of the dark scenes here pretty well. That looks fine. Let's move up into that area again. Where were you? There you are. I can even see some flickering now here in these lights, this kind of orangish light on the rock surface there. Up here. Yeah, it's just seriously flickering now. I just saw some light pop. And it is less detail in the, so instead of getting like, indication that there's that blue light moving through that structure as well, now when you move your mouse, the blue light shows up as a shimmer and flicker instead of like undulating lights moving through it. So we've lost that detail. His hair is very smooth in the shadow here. And interior-wise, the lights look fine. So this isn't like egregious. This isn't really like egregious with Ultra Performance. There's some shimmer on the edge work of this light. You can see on that door, it's shimmering a bit. So again, this isn't very egregious, but it is certainly noticeable. All right, so let's go ahead and get to our conclusion and break down what we've seen here to determine if the 7900 XTX was able to hold up against this game at 4K. So right out the bat, we would say that no, the 7900 XTX could not get us 60 FPS with native 4K resolution in this game, but we were getting steady 30 FPS. Obviously, in different areas of the game, that will probably drop either below 30 or above 30, but on average, about 30 FPS was seen at native 4K. So that, if you're okay with that, that's a win right there. But again, we did not get to 60. So what did we need to do to get to 60? Well, we used we used XeSS. And with XeSS, we saw very good performance just about through all the options that it presented, without seeing a major loss in fidelity until we started getting to performance, and ultra performance really saw quite a bit of dip there in fidelity. But the other settings held up very well. XeSS was showing very low or very high issues with grain, though, even at I believe it was ultra quality, which was odd. At quality, it was a lot less grain, but then going to balanced and performance, the grain really returned with XeSS. Now, the game itself does not support FSR natively, so we used OptiScaler to inject FSR4 via the XeSS inputs. Using that, FSR4 had a mixed bag. A number of options were just not even doable because it was massive flickering, massive white screen flickering issues. That was seen at ultra quality as well as at balanced. So we didn't even get to really test at those because it was just unusable. But FSR4 came in strong with quality and also with performance, holding up real well, giving us quality at 60 FPS average or even higher, and at performance we were seeing in the 70s. Why is he checking his time? Anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and hope to see you guys next time. This is Mr. MCP76 signing out. Adios.